the net results are stored from each life by the manas. For as the body dies, taking the brain with it, there's no storage nor means of connecting with the next earth life. So the division is made between that part of the being which is perishable and does not reincarnate, the body, the astral body, the life energy, and so forth, and that which is immortal and goes from life to life, the higher mind, the universality, the atmic principle. Because mind is dual, it tends to split between higher and lower. And that's a whole other topic of interesting introspection. So perhaps one could say the object in thinking about karma is to become more universally conscious, more aware of all that lives, is that to live and think such that one is not generating lots of new karma, which are just causes for further bondage, while one is working off the karma that's one experiencing, closing the life account, wiping off the old mental deposits. And as one exhausts those old causes, it leaves the man in a condition where he's better able to master all those steps into true consciousness and prepared to renounce, final nirvanic states. And as the example given by the Mahatmas of like Buddha and other great beings who remain with humanity to help because they feel that it would be selfish to go into a state of and leave other beings behind. So this brings up a lot. So just to review, the mental deposits are a result of desires, and the force behind them depends on the force of thought put into them. It can be thoroughly dissipated through the environment that's furnished for the karma to dissipate, the mind, and philosophical study can prepare and assist the person in the release of past karma. It helps the mind to see more quickly and what definite and positive action will help do that. The more one does it, supposedly the easier it gets. And what we focus our attention on expands. So focusing on the negative, focusing on, oh, my troubles, all this, all that, probably isn't going to make them necessarily go away. It's okay to acknowledge that, have compassion for oneself, that one is suffering, and it's the universal human condition, but at the same time, taking our consciousness and deliberately putting it on the larger picture is what many of traditions and theosophy suggests. So as we live, as we think, as we act, we are composed of atoms. They're constantly exchanging with other beings. Those atoms have never been destroyed since the beginning of the universe. They're sort of, that energy is recycled to a degree. We impress them and they are perhaps attracted to another person thinking along the same lines, or there's this constant interchange of life that we impress, which is why man is at the pivotal point between the animal kingdom and the sort of the gods, because man can go in either direction. Um, he can let himself be lowered to the animal nature, to just, sensuality, pleasures for the personality in that one life, or they can expand to a universal level that includes all beings and has a sense of an awareness of even minute thoughts and details. In every act of life that we interact, we're impressing those atoms, and it's not a strict correspondence. Like, an atom isn't what Madame Blavatsky calls an elemental, but elementals are lives, and there are three kingdoms of elementals. They're the least physical, and then comes the mineral kingdom and the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, and the human kingdom. So our bodies are made of vegetable life, animal life, mineral life. It's not really ours. We're just borrowing it for the time that we're embodied. We're impressing it, and we're trying to give it an impulse to return to harmony. Because what karma really is that pebble in the pond creates a disturbance, and the effect rebounds. It comes back to one. So that's the law trying to adjust and balance itself. And if we can mirror that in our own thought, then we are not generating new karma. We are returning to the state of all-knowingness, yet with the experience that we have gained in an embodied life over many lifetimes, over an education, an evolution of experiences, ideas, existing. Because we can think about something and sort of get a grasp on it, but it's pretty universally true that unless you experience something, it's hard to relate to it till one goes through it oneself. That's why there are so many lifetimes it takes to go through this pilgrimage, to experience all the different kinds of states and possibilities that we have through desire, through previous causes, set up a relationship with, and they have to be played out until a being decides that, like the Buddha says, that it's suffering, and that the way to end this endless series of incarnations is through changing the direction, the focus, the force of thought and energy, and towards a view that is inclusive, of universal unity. Any comments or questions? Oh, I just wanted to end with a quote from Pythagoras. "Begin thy work, first having prayed the gods to accomplish it. Thou, having mastered this, that essence of gods and mortal men shalt know, which all things permeates, which all obey. And thou shalt know that law hath established the inner nature of all things alike. So shalt thou hope not for what may not be, nor aught that may escape thee." In other words, beginning with a clearness about one's relationship with all beings, beginning with a sense of appropriateness in that one is interacting with many different kinds of lives, and that they assist one, and one owes them a debt of gratitude. In order to accomplish anything, we require, no one can do anything alone. We're not isolated. Everything happens in accordance with other beings. So Um, Pythagoras, was part of the mystery schools in Greece, and I guess this is part of what they did and recommended.
Aren't the gods part of us too?
Yes, the gods are not separate.
We're part of that.
Aren't the who?
The gods.
The gods.
Pythagoras refers to the gods.
Because
The gods are really forces, they represent different forces of nature. Yeah. They personified them because it created a symbol that had many levels so that they could be remembered, you could understand how they interact. Maybe in our hubris in the Western tradition, look and think that, they really thought they were many gods and they were personally involved and they, shot an arrow and got someone to fall in love with so and so, and but it's symbolical of forces in nature that we experience, and it's been it's symbolized that way because it makes it accessible on many levels.
just a comment to change that into a god was the most disfavorable thing any religion could have done.
How do you mean?
Change that concept of the many into one god and sell it to humanity as the savior.
Well, yeah,
Anthropomorphizing that concept.
Yeah, the problem with that is that the idea of vicarious atonement, that one has to subscribe to this or that, that one needs an intermediary, or that if one recognizes something, that the slate will be wiped clean from things one has done in the past that may have helped or hindered others. Is just not in accordance with the laws of nature. We need to observe as above, so below, and that the physical realm is patterned on the archetypal or noumenal, relating to nous, the mind, and this Greek word.
Invisible?
Yeah, to the invisible, well, to our fleshly eyes, invisible, but not to the mind's eye as it is focused on that level. So, I never like to do that, but it always happens that karma almost always focuses on the negative. But there is good karma as one expands one's consciousness and maybe puts out universal boundless love and inspiration for that to further itself, and it maybe that idea sparks off in people that you may never see with your eyes, or maybe even know, but because maybe they live on the other side of the globe, or just were functioning as parts of one organism. So the karmic results can be very good. One person can make a huge difference, and they can inspire many people. Yeah.
Isn't it also that when we experience good karma, we tend to take it for granted? It's something that just flows, so we don't really realize what's going on. On the other hand, when you have a problem, that an obstacle gets in your way, I mean, that you notice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, but I think karma is really not about bad things. It's just that we pay more attention to them. That's all. Because it gets in relationship with our resistance to the flow, and so we really pay attention to that.
It's disruptive to our maybe intention or desire, and so you're right, we notice it. But it's probably best to notice all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And our judgment maybe suspend it, because we're looking from the point of view of, you know, maybe the one life and who we are and what's happened to us, but that isn't who we really are. We're, you know, you and as Mr. Brown or Mrs. Jones in this life is just a snapshot. It's just like a flicker of, you know, because we're really eternal beings and we've gone through many changes of body, many changes of state, and it's not who we really are, and it's hard to remember. So we tend to judge based on our limited scope.